And our meeting is being recorded. Okay. Issues around
sorry about that.
That affect our seniors in Fairfax County, and that could be age and services to support our seniors, and that could be dementia services. It could be the villages. It could be other making your we could get speakers from the county and have kind of an umbrella on those types of issues and how and what support our senior residents need.
Right, that sounds like it's a possibility. I know they sometimes have panels on just the villages talking about the different models, but you present a good thing. There's some county services that people are not aware of. So having people to say what is available to help, I think that's good. That's probably a good idea.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, what I would
services is particular, the one, I don't know how many of you all know, the phone number for the services for older adults and adults with disability. It's touted as the one-stop shopping number. If you have a need and you don't know what company to go, you call this number. Senior services for older adults and adults with disabilities.
Okay, great.
Joe, I was going to say if the umbrella or the leader on that would be Area Agency on Aging.
Right.
A lot of the services are now under their auspices. So I would definitely check in with them, and then they can filter out, who are the key people. But also going back to what someone said about FCPS and homeless children, I would also add to that with the homeless children piece to add the Office of Ombudsman. Because a lot of families do not know about that resource in FCPS, and that correlates also to homeless services. And Armando, he's the new ombudsman for FCPS, so that would be another way to increase awareness and of the services and support and resources within that scope.
That was Office of what?
Office of the Ombudsman, OM.
Oh, Ombudsman.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know about that service.
Okay, thanks, Katina. Let's go to Mary Payden. I see your hands up, and then we'll go to Pam.
Yeah, I always would like to see a kind of a panel session with members of VIC from faith communities on how they take the things they learn at VIC back to their own congregations and communities. And I think there's different models for that. I know MVUC is doing some new stuff. I know Victor has a committee that he takes information back to. I don't know how it works in the other faith communities, but I think it would be interesting to have people share how they do that.
The idea being that by sharing with each other how we're doing it, we might each become more effective in communicating the messages and
exactly.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Wait. Mary, that can't be all you have to say right now.
That's all I have.
All right. Pam.
I don't know if I'll be around next year, so I'll let you guys do this.
I want to follow up on Mary's point in a slightly different way. What I hear in this list is a lot of information stuff. And we have been trying to get away from people coming in and reporting what they're doing and get to what can churches do about this. And I worry that we're getting away from connecting the two. Information sharing is fine, but that is really not the purpose of VIC if we're really talking about advocacy.
And so really with each of these, your challenge is what's the action for VIC members, whether they're churches or nonprofits? What is the action that by having this information we're challenging ourselves to take?
Exactly. It's about action, not about information.
Diane.
Going back to alluding to what Pam just said, with that dementia friendly initiative, That's broken down with information going to neighborhoods, faith communities, and first responders, because there's been, examples showing how maybe people are not aware of how they can assist somebody with that diagnosis and their caregivers. And so they are isolated, and isolation is a big topic since COVID. Was before, but COVID sort of highlighted a little bit more. So I bring that to it. Dementia services for faith communities, for neighborhoods, for first responders.
I think I would add to my comment that it's not only what individual churches can do, but what VIC as a group, as an interfaith group, can do. Because it's one thing to, get folks from the congregation to volunteer and those kinds of things. It's another thing to have a policy on or advocate for, some sort of a need that would be more powerful if all of us came together and talked about it.
Okay.
Forgot to lower my hand, sorry.
All right.
I can't even figure out how to lower.
Go back to reactions.
What other ideas do folks have?
If I could add to what Pam's just said, is there any ideas around if it could still continue to support like voting opportunities and voter registration as different congregations have tried to do in the past, especially with, recent, elections and things, and there's still another one coming up. So, that could definitely still be not just a short term, but a long term thing to make sure it's on the, on a list of priorities. So it's definitely suggest looking at that.
Okay. What else? Just thinking of the natural calendar of what's happening next year. Are there things in the political arena that we would be interested in discussing? And that could be at the state legislature. It could be decisions that the Board of Supervisors will be making, or it could be, with our national representatives and anything in between. And maybe we've covered that well enough this year, and just throwing it out there for thoughts.
Can I add something to the senior things where isolation, dementia? Could we put transportation in as another focus as well? And I know some of the things that the Northern Virginia Aging Network is addressing is the concerns about staffing in nursing homes and people being aware of the benefits, the dental benefits that have been expanded from Medicaid. And something else just went out of my head. I'll think about it in a minute.
Diane, it seems like there's a robust topic around
the
Ombudsman.
seniors and seniors with disabilities. Right.
Ombudsman was the other one that's being highlighted too, the need for ombudsman. And I think we mentioned that here earlier, and I'm not sure that I see it.
It's under the
kids
related to the county schools, but we could add it here as well.
Yeah, definitely for the long-term care facilities. And thinking about long-term care, you automatically think about assisted living and nursing homes, but actually the jails and the shelters also comes into that category.
I hope not.
No, for some it's.
What I'm saying is I hope the shelters are not long-term care.
Yeah.
See a note in the chat from Christina that we could potentially invite Paul and Scott to speak about issues at the state level.
We haven't had them in a while.
Right, we haven't had them in a while. We're gonna have a new governor and coming down, and I don't know, might be good to bring them back.
And would the timing for that be in the fall? It would be prior to the end of their session, right?
No.
No?
Well, you want them, well, I would think you'd want them after the election.
Okay.
Because it's what's going forward that we care about.
Yes. After I was thinking of the state legislative session that starts middle of January.
Yeah.
So maybe after between November and January.
Yeah, starts the beginning of January.
Yeah.
Have them in December.
Yeah.
Can I suggest putting in medical respite beds and adult foster care while you're focusing, Diane, on seniors? Just for an update on those things.
Okay, good.
Could somebody explain that a little bit more? Adult foster care?
So we do, for an area agency on aging, we do have some folks that are living with individuals much like child foster care. You know, they have some special needs, and so they're served by a family or individuals that have them in their home.
Thanks, Janine. I'll connect with you about that a little bit more. Yes, appreciate
And then
that.
medical respite beds are usually in a couple of the shelters, is my understanding. Adult and aging has maybe like 1 or 2 apartments that if we get really desperate, we put people in. I don't know much about that because I'm housing. Pam?
It's New Hope Housing has those apartments. So, and we work with Agency on Aging.
Victor, I see you're taking the prerogative as the person recording the notes to capture shelters, status updates, and level of service. So that would be an update on both the Beacon Hill shelter and any other issues around shelters.
Yeah, I've kind of heard that in the discussion,
right?
Background, because we're focused very heavily on the Beacon Hill shelter right now, but there are others that some people from our area go to, and I didn't want to be too narrow focused.
Very good.
Because this is a broad list, and who knows where it'll end up.
Right. So we would include the Beacon Hill shelter, the Kennedy shelter, the Next Step shelter.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe the whole issue of
shelter issues broadly across the county.
Yeah.
Right. Could we also, Vic, capture the idea that Christina had around having Paul and Scott talk about legislative issues at the state level? Oh. Yep.
You know, you have people at the Northern Virginia Aging Network that are closely tied in with what is coming before the General Assembly. So somebody from there could also be somebody to speak to us as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, there's 2 things on legislation. One is to listen to what they're going to propose, and the other one is for us to propose some things that we think they should pay attention to in the legislature, that maybe there are some issues that we would want to press with them. We might want to contact Kim Bobo again and see what their agenda is going to be next year.
Other thoughts, folks?
Oh, actually, Joe, I'll just mention, this is David, that one place for advocacy may be the new Lee District Community Center, because we're now talking to the communities about what services and programs they want in the community center. But I think it also could tie into a larger topic around at-risk teens. I mean, some of that's involved in the mental health piece, but also just how to provide activities and places for teens to go, which would be the community center, and what services and programs should be provided to help them. Because it is I think it's becoming a larger issue in these communities, particularly in that part of Buckman Road, where, I mean, partly it's influenced by COVID and the pandemic, just having nothing for the kids to do. But, you know, going forward, you're going to have this tremendous opportunity with the community center.
Right.
And really, what programs and services can be provided there to help them in particular.
So it would be issues around teenagers' health, engagement,
Yep.
activities for them, mental health, as well as the Lee Community Center and
Right.
and how that could help address these. Right.
I think you could all roll it all together.
Right. Yeah.
Be one topic.
Okay. Mary, I see your physical hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the two topics you probably don't need to do because the South County Task Force is going to do them in the fall. One is on workforce development education. We're going to do a session on what kind of things are possible for both the Lee District Center and the Old Mount Vernon High School. There's kind of two sets of educational things that are being planned for both college and college readiness and workforce development. And that was one of the things that came out of our community meetings a couple of years ago, as things that people wanted in this community. So we're going to do kind of a progress report on that. And then the other one is again, displacement, and we're going to be looking at kind of options as to what people are doing in different places around the country to prevent displacement.
Okay.
By gentrification.
You mentioned college readiness, and if we do a session on teen activities, health, and kind of school engagement, maybe that college readiness would be a good component of that as well. Diane.
Going back to, again, the senior stuff, under isolation, could you please put in parentheses NV, Northern Virginia Resource Center, NVRC, and Northern Virginia Resource Center. They are tasked with informing people about hearing options. People don't always think about people that have hearing loss or deaf, that they are somewhat isolating. And right now, the Lorton Community Center is in the process of getting built. And that's one of the things that we really tried to focus on them, building, putting in things that would engage older people or anybody, because it's not just older people that have hearing difficulties. Okay. So anyway, I just put that in for isolation as well.
Yeah, and just for everybody, I mean, we'll work on any agenda items we move forward with. We'll work on fleshing out the details, so we don't need to
have to do it now.
Everything okay. Right. Yeah. But these are good. Thank you. Maria Jose, I wonder if I could put you on the spot. Are there any topics related to what you see at the Financial Empowerment Center, or what you're doing that you think might apply or build into a session for VIC?
I was thinking about that.
Okay.
And the two things that are coming to my mind is first the unemployment and how that is going to end for most of our clients. But I really don't know exactly whom we can bring to our meeting to actually explain how it's going to be the process. We see a lot of our clients who are going to the end of the unemployment benefits, and they are still not going near to get a new job. So that is one of the things that is really worries us. And the other thing is going to be around the rental assistance program, and how clients in the community in general can learn what are the things that they can, the rights that they have, and how to understand what they can do under the situation. Because even though there is a lot of regulations in place that you cannot be evicted, that they need to work with you and everything in between, we know that that is already there. Still, there are situations where our clients are totally unprotected.
Okay. So it sounds like both of those ideas maybe coalesce around issues relating, financial issues related to coming out of the pandemic, including the end of unemployment, return to work, eviction, and other financial assistance to help make that transition?
Yes, yes, true. Because even our clients, and most of our clients are still looking for a job. They are able, I don't know, I give you an example. I have a client who was unemployed for a while. She started receiving some unemployment. She was called back from her previous employer, but only had 4 or 5 hours per week, or 10 hours per week, which is nothing.
Right.
It's really nothing. So we see those cases a lot of those cases.
Maria, do you have a need for like VIC to play a role maybe in supporting your efforts through volunteer recruitment or mentors or something like that?
If we are looking for those volunteers? I'm sorry, I couldn't understand your...
Yes.
So we do have a lot of volunteers in our team. I mean, we don't have lack of volunteers. I mean, that is not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, based on that, I added volunteer recruiting. That's an issue broadly. It affects all areas. And the other point at the bottom, based on what I was hearing, when we further in steering committee discuss these things, some of them might lend themselves to meeting topics, others more information gathering, and others maybe development and distribution of pamphlets rather than meeting topics.
Right. Good. Thanks, Vic. And Mary.
Yeah, one topic that we considered but ended up not doing for South County Task Force was along the lines that Maria Jose just mentioned, and it was trying to assess people, how they came out of the pandemic, what was their status in terms of economics, food, evictions. There's not a lot of evictions around here. It would be of use to talk about that and what's happened with it. The food, there's a couple of food distribution programs that are being cut off now, the school food and the drive-through food at the South County Center are not happening. And there was some question about whether people would miss that, whether they would have enough food. Right. So this is a very transitional time, and it would be good to have some kind of a assessment from the ground as opposed to from the county numbers about how people are faring.
Great, thank you. We've had a couple themes in the passed, and I wonder if, or kind of broad topics. One was around climate change. And I'm not sure that there's a session on this. I just want to mention it to see if it sparks anything. And the other is we've talked about racial equity and One Fairfax. And again, I'm just wondering if there's a topic or actions for VIC related to those.
What was the name of the climate change package that the Unitarian Church identified? We had a program on it. It was a one-word name for it.
Drawdown.
I was going to say drawdown, but yeah.
Drawdown, that's been updated.
Okay.
So there's a new package with new options.
Okay. Other thoughts from folks?
You know, on the racial justice issue and other things of this kind, I think there is, there may be things on the docket with a number of conversations about policing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And the new Fairfax County Police Chief, and there've been a lot of conversations around that. So we might want to just have this as a topic somewhere that we can consider, you know, depending upon what comes up, because some of this, you know, some of this is unfolding. So it's not like we can necessarily get specific until we see things unfold, but there might be some good things there.
Right. And that could either be a session that leads with, I mean, it could be a session with the new police chief potentially, or
it could be,
you know, or it could be a component of a racial justice seminar.
Because you know there is a Gum Springs meeting coming up a week from this Thursday, I believe, with at Harvest Assembly Baptist Church, Springs, with the new police chief and pastors and so on. And I did send out something, I think, to the steering committee noting that faith leaders were invited.
Great.
Okay. Queenie specifically asked me to circulate that too. So.
And was that, I did see it. Maybe we could find it and repeat it just for those on the meeting today.
Let me come up with that, and I'll put it in the chat. How's that?
I remember it was coming up fairly quickly, so I thought it'd be worth mentioning today. Yeah. Mary.
Yeah, another aspect of racial justice is the disparity of people of color and Black people, in particular in the homeless population. And that's true in Fairfax. It's true in the metropolitan area, according to the recent COG report. And I believe it's also true nationally.
Correct.
And it's not a matter of poverty, it's a matter of some other systemic racism, which I suspect may have to do with the criminal justice system, but they haven't looked at that aspect of it. Because the Hispanic people are poorer than African Americans in the statistics, and yet there are more African American homeless people.
Way more.
Janine.
I think when we talk about racial equity, I know there was a connection with the police, but I think as Mary just alluded to and Pam agreed, we need to look at housing and access to health care and unemployment and poverty in general, and not just focus on racial equity and policing. I know that's been a priority, but I think there's so many other systemic things that need to be addressed that I'd like to see it be more broad, and maybe even some discussion about just identifying white privilege and going through some of the exercises that as county staff we've been doing. There's a privilege pie that's real easy to get through. So
yeah,
just throwing that out there.
Thank you. I recall we did a session like that in person. I think it was last year, but yeah. Diane. Diane, I think you may still be on mute.
Famous words with Zoom these days, unmute yourself. With the going along with what Janine and Mary have talked about, I think there's one topic, you get to talking about inequities and race and the criminal justice. Working poor is a term that I've been hearing a little bit more about, that sometimes they get forgotten, and they have their own inequities, or they're part of the problem, so to speak, and maybe don't get as much attention as some of the others. So I just bring that out as something that I've heard here lately.
What was the poor?
The working poor.
Working.
The P, yeah. People who are working, they have jobs, but they just can't get ahead, be it because of housing costs, be it because of taxes, whatever, other kinds of things.
Yeah.
And that is exactly the population that we serve at the Financial Empowerment Center.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just want to call everybody's attention. Bill put that information in the chat on the meetings. The first is pastors and clergy's a working meeting tomorrow at 10 at Harvest Assembly Baptist Church to formulate a document containing questions and concerns that will be sent in advance to Chief Davis to address. And then Chief Davis's meeting with pastors, clergy, and community and police on Thursday the 10th at 10 a.m. at Harvest Assembly Baptist Church. And as Bill said, Queenie specifically invited Vic to join that meeting. So if you have time, please take a look at that.
It's quite a list up there.
It's quite a list. I mean, yeah.
Before we get too far, I didn't want to miss the opportunity. I should have done this at the beginning. Julia Kravitz in Congressman Byer's office wanted to introduce somebody from that office who's going to be replacing her. So I wanted to make sure she had that opportunity, okay? Sorry.
Thanks, Bill, no worries. Hi, everyone. I will be taking a different position. I start Monday, but my colleague Zena, who's also on the call, will be taking over my outreach portfolio. So I just wanted to give you guys the introduction y'all deserve. So Zena, if you want to say a few words, feel free to.
Hi, everyone. As I told Bill, I'm currently working for Congressman Byer as a caseworker, but like Julia said, I'll be taking over on Monday. So I'm looking forward to sitting in on more meetings and starting. So thanks.
Great. Welcome, Zena. And Julia, good luck in your new position.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So I think we have really a pretty robust list for the steering committee to work with and kind of pull into some topics. And this is really our agenda item for today. Are there any that we should add, or are we close to being ready to wrap up?
Can I just say one thing? I want to just stress that, you know, I'm a school person and I follow school boundaries, and somehow I end up in a VIC meeting, which is awesome. And I love this, but I noticed that school boundaries bleed into Embark, bleed into, you know, homelessness, like all of these topics touch each other somehow. It may be 2 or 3 steps removed. So I think it might be helpful if, while the steering committee is looking at these, maybe take like the first section, like if you're going to do, you know, pre-K, where are we with that, to the, you know, all the way through like teens, getting teens involved, and take that section of it, because there's a lot of information here and I'd love to cover as much as possible. But I think if we one-off it, it's going to be hard, because you could go, you know, you could talk for a whole hour on any of these things. But if we can get it and then have like, okay, here's what we can do to advocate for, you know, X, whatever topic it is, because it's very critical that we, even if you're just you have one topic, like say the dementia issue, that can bleed into the caregivers and to the family. Like it just covers so much. So I think if we can kind of consolidate and show the relationships between these different things, that may help us in advocating. Because I learn so much at every meeting I attend, even if I think, oh, that doesn't apply to me, somehow it does. Right. So I think if you guys can keep that in mind, that will be very helpful. But I just wanted to say that because I'd like to put things together. So,
I think what I heard is think about how these topics might go together and how they might be best grouped, and how those groupings might tie to future action for those who come to the sessions.
Exactly.
Will we get a copy of this list that we could look at as well? Sent out before any steering session, steering group or anything, just as is this list?
That's a good question.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess we could do that. As typically what happens is the steering committee sort of goes over and reorganizes the whole list and looks at the priorities. What we don't want is anyone feeling that because the steering committee has reorganized and selected certain topics, that anything was considered unworthy of attention. It's that we only have a certain number of meetings during the year. Let's get it first, and then I think the steering committee ought to have a look at it before we just go sending it out to everybody. What do you think, Joe? Or can we just do it?
I think that's fine, unless somehow having the list is useful for people in other work that they're doing, to say, you know, we had a brainstorming session and this captures a lot of issues around the senior population. So yeah,
I mean, you're welcome to copies if you want them. It's just that we don't want to flood everybody with this list, and then you know, we still have to
right. This is kind of the first brainstorming session on developing our agenda for next year, not topics that we'll definitely include, right?
Yeah, but Diane, if you want a copy of this, I can make sure it comes to you.
I appreciate that, because, you know, I do have to give reports sometimes of the meetings that I attend to make sure I bring attention to some of the senior issues. Sure. And so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've got it written down. I'll make sure you get the list.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to say, because we're coming to the end of Joe's co-facilitation, which has been 3 years, and I want to personally thank him for yeoman duty and holding on for a year beyond the 2 that normally we have, and then also, you know, I've learned a lot from him. So, you know, I want to say thanks, and on behalf of Ventures in Community, the steering committee, and the whole membership for your sterling service with us. And you know, I'm going to keep calling you anyway. And then I'm sorry Brenda Faison isn't here too, because I wanted to introduce her as the incoming co-facilitator, who's going to be with me for a time until we find a somebody with one of the nonprofit service organizations to replace me, but I don't know when that'll be because I'm finishing 2 years and we're still going. So Joe, did you want to say anything?
Well, thank you, Bill. That's very kind. I mean, honestly, I've learned quite a bit in working with everybody on the call and with Vic and with the steering committee as well. And, you know, I think we've all done very well in the last year in terms of trying to both keep Vic alive and move Vic forward in terms of our advocacy and what we've challenged ourselves with. So given the challenges we faced in the pandemic, I feel very positively about how we've kept Vic alive and kept moving forward and maybe to some extent have reinvigorated our advocacy. So thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks for your leadership, Bill.
You know, I consider being a facilitator more like helping the group to come to decisions and consult and come to good decisions so that we can move forward. So we're working on that. You know, there's information, there's action, and not all action is advocacy, and not all advocacy is, you know, at the same level as others. So all of this is stuff we're learning, you know, as we move forward. So
I agree. And I see Mary's hand is up as well.
Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a correction to the list here. If you're going to distribute it, could you put where it says South County Task Force, put meeting topics right after South County Task Force. Right, South County Task Force meeting topics will include.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
It looks like those are all different topics for VIC. And what I intended to say was that the South County Task Force's meeting topics next year, the meetings that we're going to sponsor and hold. So it should say South County Task Force meeting topics for fall include workforce development and displacement and gentrification.
Did you also have the old Mount Vernon High School, Mary?
No, we were going to look at workforce development at both Mount Vernon High School and the Lee Community Center.
Got it. Okay.
So what was the second topic?
Displacement and gentrification. And then you can delete the next three lines.
Got it.
We'll accept. What happens at the old high school is probably still a valid topic. I guess the issue is, do we want to address it or just let you do it?
Yeah, you can leave the high school there as a valid topic, but then delete workforce development and displacement and gentrification.
All right.
And I think Mary brings up the important point, right, of coordinating which we've done some this year, right? Coordinating VIC topics and combining meetings when it makes sense, and South County Task Force topics, right? Because we're in many cases trying to address the same problems. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're at 12:30. Usually we go to 1, but for the general meetings, but it looks like we've got plenty before us for the steering committee to take a look at. And the steering committee will be having a couple of special meetings this month. And then we'll have one in July and one in August. And in July, I think we're going to take up this setting out the agenda for the coming year. So friends, thank you very much. And I apologize that I didn't start the recording at the very beginning of the meeting. I forgot. And so this announcement came out like 5 minutes or 10 minutes into the meeting. So my apologies. So it's slightly truncated at the beginning. So we begin sort of partway in. So this will be posted on the Ventures and Community YouTube channel. So you will be able to look at this again and see what we talked about.
Bill, is Kate Walker isn't on today, is she?
No, that's right.
I just wanted to acknowledge her longtime work with us at VIC, and I believe she's taken on a position at another
in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh,
that's right. Yeah.
She's away. Her email bounced back that she was out of town.
Okay. Yeah.
I got a lot of those for this meeting. A lot.
Yeah. Very good. So unless there are other things, we'll just close now and wish you all the best for, oh, Christina, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one thing. I think with, oh, you know what? I'll save it. I'll email you and Joe.
Okay.
All right.
It's a surprise. And
okay, thank you. It's a surprise. I hope it's a good surprise, Christina.
It's a good surprise, but I don't want to say it in front of.
Okay. Well, that puts us all on tenterhooks.
With that intriguing comment.
Yes. It's recorded in this meeting, so. Right. All right. So I'll see some of you in other meetings later today and other things.
Yes, we can hardly wait.
So so goodbye and have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.